And here we go. Looks like we're live. Welcome to anybody watching. I am Alexi Sargent, and we are playing tonight a game of Vow of the Knight-Aspirants. And this is To Seek the Tower Perilous, Session 1 of 4. I'm very excited. This is the first series-length playtest of this new PBTA game in playtesting, Vow of the Knight-Aspirants. The game is made possible by the Gauntlet gaming community. We are playing through the Gauntlet calendar here, and you can learn more about the Gauntlet by going to gauntlet-rpg.com or following the Gauntlet on Twitter at GauntletRPG. Lots of cool indie RPG games going up each and every month on the Gauntlet, and it's very worth checking out. This particular game is called Vow of the Knight-Aspirants. This is a game about Arthurian squires on the cusp of knighthood, questing into a dark fairy tale wood in hopes of proving themselves, and they are seeking the Tower Perilous. I have been working on this game for a little bit and got to start playtesting it this year, and this is going to be the first time I playtest a non-one-shot version of the game. So we're not going to be just wrapping up after one session. We're going to get to have 4 sessions together, tell these stories at a little more length, and perhaps see our young squires approach the Tower Perilous itself by the end of our series, which should be very exciting. Let's take a moment and meet the players we've assembled for this series. So I'm going to have you do a round of introductions where we just introduce yourselves as players, and then in a little bit we'll come back around and introduce our characters. But starting with introducing ourselves as players, I'm going to ask you to share your name, your pronouns if you wish, your online handle if you so desire, or anything else folks should know. I can start us off. Alexi, he, him. You can follow all of my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games. So be sure to check out Cloven Pine Games on Twitter or Cloven Pine Games on itch.io if you want to get updates on the progress of this game or the other games that I am working on. Chris, would you introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Chris Newton, he, him, and you can find me online at Enervan on Twitter. That's INARVAN. If you are interested in reading my thoughts on many things nerdy and some things not as nerdy, but still pretty nerdy. So that's me.
Very nice. Great to be playing with you again, Chris. Danielle, you're up next.
Yes, I'm Danielle, she, her, and you can find me usually on Twitter at builtahouse or just at builtahouse, and so that's my handle, and happy to be here.
Good to have you here. Last but not least, Joe, please tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, I'm Joe, he, him. And that's probably about it. I'm mostly a social media voyeur, so I don't have much to say on the interweb. But I have Twitter, but you can follow me, but you're not. It's going to be pretty boring. So
fair enough. Thank you for joining for our series. So I want to go over CATS, which stands for Concept, Aim, Tone, and Subject Matter. This will be a little bit of review for my players because some of this stuff was already in our discussion and our kind of listing for this event, but could be helpful for anyone tuning in just to get more of a sense of what type of story we expect we are telling here. So the concept, as I said, is you are squires coming from a court that is very King Arthur-esque, and you are going into a dark and tangled wood that is very, Brothers Grimm-esque, unexpurgated Brothers Grimm, right? The dark fairy tale stuff. You are seeking for the Tower Perilous, which is an ancient and magical place, because the wizard Kestrel, advisor to great King Hadithar, has told you that the Tower Perilous must be found. There is some important relic there that the realm will have need of, and because the knights of King Hadithar are busy preparing for an invasion from the raiders, the Seathlanders, you young squires are the ones who are questing into the woods to seek the Tower Perilous. So our aim is to tell a compelling story about fantasy adventure and coming of age and grappling with what knighthood means over the course of 4 sessions. I am hoping that we get to see these characters deal with a couple different challenges and obstacles and things that push on their lessons and have them have them learn and relearn things along the way, and then hopefully see something of the Tower Perilous itself by the time we end our 4-session series. We are playing over the course of 4 sessions of 3 hours each. The tone of the game. So this is a game that draws from Arthuriana and from fairy tales, but of course those can both have really different tones, from the very light and cheerful to the very dark and grim. I'd say this is somewhere in the middle of that, somewhere at the PG-13 rating, somewhere where you might expect it to be something you'd find in young adult fiction, where a younger audience is able to read it, but there might be kind of moments that are scary or are kind of like pushing you outside of your comfort zone without going into hard R territory. So yeah, I'd say tonally there's some darkness to the setting, but there is definitely an idealism to the characters, and we'll see that kind of tested and tempered, but not subverted over the course of our story. Subject matter, we should expect there to be some intense young people feelings, some moments of danger and action and excitement and fantasy violence, and some dark, spooky, haunted fairy tale woods. Any questions about the concept, aim, tone, or subject matter now that I've done that rundown? Very nice. So I want to take this moment to go over some of the mechanics. The game is a Powered by the Apocalypse game. So, you, I believe, have all played Powered by the Apocalypse games before and are aware of some of the basics. We're going to be cleaving to the use of playbooks, the use of moves that have triggers, and rolling 2 6-sided dice and adding a stat when you trigger one of these moves to see how it goes for your character, with a 10 plus as a full success, a 7 to 9 as a mixed or partial success, where you get some of what you want but have to make some kind of choice or sacrifice or get a lesser version, and a 6 minus as a miss, which doesn't necessarily mean failure but does mean that you are in the hands of the GM, and I am interested with making things interesting for you after that miss. A couple non kind of basic mechanics I want to highlight, things that I'm playing around with, things that I've put into this design to see how they work. There is a mechanic here called heart, which is a currency that you gather and spend. And heart works a little bit like the token mechanics from games like games in the Belonging Outside Belonging system, games like Dream of Heart and Dream Askew, where you gather tokens for doing some things and you spend tokens to do other things. You kind of lean into parts of your playbook, perhaps your playbook's foibles, to gather the tokens, and then spend the tokens to do cool, powerful fiction changing stuff. So I've tried to steal a little bit of that goodness for this Powered by the Apocalypse system, where each of you has some things that you do to gain heart and a powerful ability you can spend heart on. And that's kind of, that can be related to dice rolling, but it isn't necessarily a dice rolling thing, right? Like if you've got 3 heart and you say, I'm going to spend 3 heart to issue a 1-word command to an NPC that cannot be disobeyed, like that happens, right? You don't have to roll dice to tell me that you're doing that. You just, you're spending the heart is enough. The other way to get heart is through offering encouragement to each other. That's one of the basic moves of the game, and among its effects are giving heart to both participants in the conversation. Another mechanic I want to draw our attention to is lessons. So lessons are what you've learned, principles and ideals and advice that you have picked up and made kind of part of yourself. You start off with 2 lessons, and you will pick up more or modify those lessons as the game goes on, because when you live up to a lesson, you can roll with advantage. When you defy a lesson, you roll with disadvantage. And there are some mechanical bonuses either way when you defy a lesson. So like there's a chance to rewrite the lesson if you defy it and succeed, and there's a chance to mark a notch if you defy it and fail. Notches are the XP equivalent in this game. In a one-shot, I have been treating notches kind of as the epilogue stat, because you build up notches and then you roll to determine what your epilogue is. For our series, I'm not going to have that be the emphasis. For our series, you actually will get a chance to fill up your notches in advance. So if you get to 5 notches, then we bust out the advanced moves, which aren't even in the character keeper yet, but I will add them in as we get 5 notches. Yeah, right. Lastly, a thing that all my players are aware of, but those watching should also be made aware of. This game involves modular dual playbooks. So you have one playbook representing your temperament, and then you would have a second playbook representing your aspiration. I haven't laid out the aspiration playbooks yet, but that's all right. We have a wonderful character keeper we're working with, where folks have chosen from drop-down menus their temperament playbooks and aspiration playbooks and put them together into very cool characters. With that out of the way, I think I want to turn to hearing about these characters people have created. So we can see them here on the screen. Oh, you know what? I can do a fun thing now where I change the text wrapping. I know, very fun. But if I change the text wrapping, yep, now the pick lists don't have to take up so much space now that you've made your picks from the pick lists. Okay. Chris, I'm going to go left to right across the character keeper. So do you mind telling us a little about the character you've built here, including the 2 playbooks that make them up?
Sure. I'll be playing Caedun. He is built with the Serpent Temperament book and the Clarion Aspiration book. He is a scion of heretics. He has a cautious manner. He carries a reforged sword as his main armament, and he has steady eyes.
This is great. I love this. So the serpent says, "You come from a tainted legacy. Will you find redemption or fall to temptation?" So what does it mean that you're a scion of heretics, Caedun?
I think what happened is we had there was a disagreement amongst the various noble houses in the kingdom regarding orthodoxy within the kingdom's faith. Yeah. And there was a series of ugly splits that happened, not just 1 or 2, but like several, and 3 or 4 of them united to basically push out the others, and those others became very, very bitter and fomented a sort of miniature revolt that was put down very quickly, but those families that were associated with it, were, tainted in the eyes of many of the victorious nobles on the side of the current orthodoxy. And Caedun's family was unfortunately on the side of one of the sects that did not make it back into the welcoming arms of the reigning orthodoxy.
So you didn't return to the good graces of King Hadithar or of the other noble houses. Did your family lose their lands? Like, what's the status of your family now?
I think they're basically landless. That was, I mean, as in most situations like this, if you're on the wrong side, then you're losing out a lot. You're losing means losing a lot, and they lost a lot. They are effectively just a large scale farmers now. Like they have kind of an empty title with just barely enough land to subsist on, and that's why basically the only armament they were able to give him for his attempted role as a squire was a motley reforged sword. The only original piece of it is that hilt that you can see jutting over his shoulder.
Nice. I love it. So kind of becoming a knight is his way of trying to make good, trying to kind of return to the type of status his family had before things went so badly for them in this revolt.
Right.
I like it. You have also picked that he has a cautious manner and a steady eye. I think that helps me picture this character. And the Clarion playbook is all about having the potential for leadership. Is that something Caedun kind of consciously aspires to? Is it something he is it something that he would tell people that he's aiming to be a leader, or is it more a kind of a latent potential?
I think it's fairly latent. He's not the type that's going to announce that purposefully. But he's also not someone who's going to shy away from saying the things that he thinks needs to be said. And I think that's where those qualities will probably come out more often than otherwise.
Nice.
So he's not going to proclaim that he should be the leader or anything like that, but he's not going to shy away from doing things that he thinks need to be done, or from saying the things to other people that he thinks they need to hear.
Excellent.
Whether he's right about any of that is an open question, but he could be completely wrong about any of it. But he's not going to shy away from saying what he thinks.
We'll play to find out. You have two lessons that you're going in with from these backgrounds. You have no one is immune to the glamour of evil, and leaders carry others and keep their pain to themselves. So I'm excited to see how Caedun, grapples with those lessons as we go forward. Anything else we should definitely know about Caedun before we meet the next of our aspiring knights here?
I think that'll about cover it right now.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Let us turn then to the next of these knights. Joe, tell us, please, about your character.
All right. So we have Gaston, and my high school French is many, many years out of date. I'm going to say Chevalier, maybe.
Sure, why not?
Why not, right? So I am Gaston. I'm for the Boar playbook, which is your sort of classic big personality, it sounds like. Enormous, what does it say? Enormous appetite for life and its pleasures. Eat, drink, and be merry, I guess, is his catchphrase. Absolutely. I chose noble as the background. I had the thought that my thought is that he's most likely from a reasonably good standing, noble family. Maybe he was not the eldest son, so he'd been able to spend much of his early days in life. He doesn't have the pressures that the eldest has of taking over, and so that kind of allowed him to have this sort of gregarious, life is, live each day as it was your last, and without much responsibility, maybe. And
a very carpe diem approach.
But because always knowing that he couldn't really get into too much trouble because his family could keep him out of it and whatnot. I chose booming voice, but I think what I really was thinking is something in between the sing song and the booming. So maybe something kind of in between those. I don't know I'll find the right word for that, but it's not booming feels like kind of bigger than what I'm thinking, but he's gregarious, right? He's the life of the party, maybe, and stuff. But he has these gentle eyes that behind it all, that he's, there's something there that's he's maybe a little, there's just something behind it all that if you pay attention, that's there behind those gentle eyes. But I chose the two-handed sword. I was going between that and the big warhammer, but the picture had a two-handed sword, so it kind of tilted me to that. So
Can't go too far wrong with swords, like
exactly.
when you're aspiring to be a knight, that is the first weapon you think of. So yeah, so those gentle eyes, that comes from the Chalice playbook.
Yeah.
So your aspiration playbook is the Chalice, which says that you have a kind of a healer's gift. Is that something Gaston, thinks about a lot, or is that more, something he's kind of in the process of realizing?
I think it's in the process, right? Like I think that like we discussed before camera, that like his healing is in the sense of that he can help, his gregarious nature can help. He wants to always bring people up out of their whatever, their funk, their gloom. That's kind of how it manifests itself a little bit. And I think it's just always been the way he is, but maybe he's becoming conscious of the fact that there's something more there than just, what he expected.
Fantastic. I love it. Let me review the lessons you've got. So each drink can be merry, for gloom is the enemy. Absolutely. And the first step towards healing is acknowledging one's wounds. Fascinating pair of lessons that Gaston is carrying with him. I'm excited about seeing how he lives those out or grapples with them. Anything else we should definitely know about Gaston before meeting the third Knight-Aspirant among our party?
I do not think so. Not yet. You will
very
play
good.
Out more, right?
Absolutely. Sounds good to me. So Danielle, will you please tell us about your character?
Yes, I am playing Jillian, or I think she probably goes by Gilly to her friends. Prydain, if that is too familiar to people, I can change that. It was just the first Arthurian kind of word that I liked.
Works for me.
Okay. So she is a squire, obviously, and she's kind of like holding a sword. I'm imagining the sword to be bigger than the one in the picture. Like it's really it's too big. The sword is too big for her, but she is gonna carry this sword. And I think that I put noble for her background because I think she might have been adopted into a noble family. Because I think she is like the Colt, I know, is all about being ready to go and ready to charge into action. And I sort of had in mind this idea that maybe she was adopted, perhaps because there's all this, Chris was talking about this, uprising, this upheaval in
Civil War, even
this kind of Civil War situation. So I don't know if maybe her family got caught up in that or was lost. I think that she was probably said something that like either prophetic or something that maybe she was going to be taken and raised by the wizards or something like that. But this family stepped in and was like, nope, we can just raise her. And I think out of admiration for her adoptive family, really, really, really wants to be just the very best knight possible, and has really only known like the good side of like I don't think she thinks too much about or talks about any other potential gifts that she has. And so yeah, I'm not sure if her families were farmers, but I think she doesn't feel as settled perhaps in her technically noble reputation as maybe Gaston. It feels very comfortable in it, and she just always feels like she's kind of earning her spot.
I see. Yeah. So this noble background, but there's that complicated, sense of, do I really belong? Short hair, sword that's too big for her, and wide eyes, because you are also the Hourglass. So the Hourglass playbook says you have a gift of prophecy, and it sounds like you don't, particularly love having a gift of prophecy.
No, I do not. I think it has gotten her in trouble more than it has helped. And I think that I think she just kind of feels like there's got to be, I don't have to lean on this. I can make my way in the world, by just serving really well. And then maybe I'm not going to inconvenience people by blurting out, like probably people interacting around the courtyard or whatnot. You know what I mean? Accidentally telling the cook, like, oh, the housemaid and that guy, that's not going to end well. You know what I mean? Like loudly as somebody's talking about a new paramour. And then of course it ends badly. And then everybody blames you because you said something about it, So that I feel like that's sort of.
I feel like there was a recent animated musical that delved into this kind of issue, but we won't talk about it. So the lessons you have are: hesitation is for the faint of heart and small of soul, and knowledge, even of misfortune, is a priceless gift. So that's exciting. That's a fun set of lessons to be carrying with you.
Yes.
Anything else? Let me. Do you want assistance copying over the hourglass thing from the? Yeah.
Yes, I tried that a couple times and it didn't work.
No worries. I will make sure that all does what it needs to do as far as the character keeper is concerned. Anything else we should know about Gilly before we move to a next step here?
No, I think that she definitely vibes with like the first lesson probably the most about hesitating, because like if you stop and think about it for too long, the bad stuff might catch up with you. So
yeah, legit. So speaking of lessons, I'm gonna check in with each PC a little bit to get a sense of how they feel, about their fellow squires, specifically with regards to the type of lessons people are living by. So Caedun, tell me, which of your squires kind of lives their life by principles you admire, and which of them has some values you disagree with?
Let's see. Let's take a look at these lessons.
We're sort of working from the assumption that in the process of your training, you have become acquainted with these other squires, and now that you are questing together, you are even more aware of kind of what their guiding stars are, such that you can start to evaluate them a little bit.
I think as serious and steady as he tries to be, like he kind of admires Gaston's joie de vivre. Like he's able, he's just, he's not obnoxious about partying. He's just not. He refuses to let the seriousness of whatever's going on drag him into some sort of moroseness.
Nice.
And I think Caedun kind of admires that.
That makes sense as Caedun's perspective. I think it remains to be seen if everyone agrees that Gaston is not obnoxious about partying, but no, that totally works for me.
I think on Jillian's side, I think her dedication to charging forward worries him. He thinks that's going to get her and the people that follow her into trouble if she doesn't temper that with her other lesson, which is like knowing things ahead of time being a gift. Like he's worried that she's following the first lesson a little too much and the second lesson not quite as much.
Yeah, I hear you. Does that sound good to the other players as far as makes sense that Caedun would perceive your characters that way? All right, then Gaston, tell me a little about a thing you admire in another of the player characters, and a thing that you question.
Okay, so I was thinking that Gaston probably admires Gilly's mojo, the gung-ho-ness, right? Like it feels like he would be, all in for that sort of like, that it falls in line with the eat, drink, and be merry, and don't worry about tomorrow sort of thing.
Yeah, fits
and
with the ethos.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think it's a disagree. I think he worries about it's Caedun, right? Caedun, right? Okay. Worries about Caedun, about all of about how closed in they are and their pain, and I think he senses and sees that and is worried. But maybe not so much from a like I don't think it's in his nature to worry and care about the his background so much as that he I get the sense that he's maybe a little more the closing himself off and things like that is problematic. So I don't think I articulated that as well as it was happening in my head, but
I think that sounds to me like Gaston worries Caedun has kind of cut himself off from things, like is a little too kind of like emotionally closed in.
Yeah, and how that might affect. And I think it's dual. I think he genuinely is concerned about how it affects Caedun, but also how it may affect, their what are we calling this? Our mission or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, a quest.
Quest. Oh my gosh, yes.
It's absolutely a quest.
Yes.
That's very good. Okay. Sound plausible to everybody around the table here. Then let me ask Gilly. What's something you admire in a fellow squire? What's something that you question or oppose?
I think that she, interestingly enough, she admires Caedun's ability to kind of be apart, a little bit apart. Like, he's a guy who seems to keep his own counsel, and he doesn't let other people sway him from things. It seems like he kind of does that. He got here on his own, and I think she admires that kind of clear sight sort of a thing that he has, even if his cautious nature kind of gets on her nerves sometimes. She's like, all right, just come on, just out with it. Yeah, I know you got something, just like when there's the really, really smart, quiet kid in class, and you're like, the extroverted person's like, I'm going to say something, but I know you have something better. Just spit it out, So I think she does admire that. And interestingly enough, like Gaston is great, but man, I think she's jealous of how great things are. Man, he seems like everything is such a good time, all the time. And she's like, I think it just makes her a little jealous. She's like, man, he's so nice and everybody likes him. And when he goes hey, it's a party, it's a party, I mean? I could get there, but whenever I go, it's a party, people are like, are you sure about that? So I think if anything, even if he's expansively predisposition toward her, I think she's like, yeah, man, why can't I be like him more?
I see. So there's some kind of mixture of envy and uncertainty for the way she thinks about Gaston Chevalier. Yeah, sounds like a fun group of squires, I gotta say.
I guess Gaston will probably feel like he just needs to try harder with
Gilly's like, listen, if Gaston's just try harder to be relaxed, Gilly, I think she would literally just oh, I tried the hardest of everybody, and I'm still not chill. Very like that. If you that Leslie Knope quote where she's like, "What do you mean I'm not chill? I'm so chill all the time." And Ben Wyatt is like, "You're so intense sometimes. It feels like you're arguing with the sun." She's like, "I'm totally chill all the time." Exactly.
Nice. Let's take our first little break here. Be back in 10 minutes at about 15 past the hour, and then pick up to see these characters in action. I think we've done what we need to do to set the stage. So we're going to drop these characters in and see how their quest is treating them when we return in 10 minutes or so. So take 10 and see you all at 15 past the hour. All right. Hey everybody, are we ready to drop in and see these characters in action now that we have learned a little about their deal? So I think in that case, we begin with establishing scenery of the vast and tangled Bleakwood, right? Far from the gleaming heights of Castle Luthenvel, we see this ancient and tangled wood, and venturing through it, this trio of young squires. And I want to have each of you help me paint the scene. So we'll get from you a kind of sense of how your character is moving through this landscape, right? Tell me a little about, what we get as an establishing shot of your character, and then answer for me this question: what ruins or remnants do you observe that tell you that there was once a great civilization here in what is now this part of the Bleakwood? So you're going to tell me a little about what we see of your character and what ruins they're observing that tell them that. Chris, can you start us off? Tell us, what do we see of Caedun, and Caedun, what do you observe that clues you in to the ancient civilization that was once here?
I think as we see Caedun, he is coming into a clearing at the bottom of a hill, and as he sort of hops down into this clearing, it becomes apparent as his boots scuff the ground there as he hops down that this clearing is a clearing because this was a large paved area, like paved with large, highly polished stones that were worked together in such a way that still nothing has been able to seriously crack through.
Nice. Yeah.
Thick scrub brush. The only thing that's been able to grow here is a bunch of short weeds and grass that have been able to grow on the dirt that's accumulated on top of that layer. But nothing's been able to actually break through those stones.
Do we see Caedun kicking away a little more of that dirt to examine the stones, or is he focused on kind of pressing on forward?
No, I think once he's hopped down and just sort of glanced around, he notices, and we see him sort of like sweep his feet back and forth and kick a little bit to get to underneath, and then you start to see the stone, and then you see just how, once you get the dirt off of it, how polished and unnervingly perfect each stone is. There's once you get the dirt off of it, there's almost no texture to it. You see him sort of run a finger across it, and you get the feeling that there's almost no grit to the stone itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Gaston, I'm turning to you next, kind of expanding on this scene. How do we see Gaston moving through the environment, and what ruins or remnants does Gaston observe that tells him this was once a great civilization and is now overrun by the forest?
So I think Gaston probably has sort of a swagger that he a loose swagger, whistling a lot, chatting everybody up, talking to everybody, and maybe he has a flask or something with a wine he's sipping on occasionally and whatnot. But as so we kind of gotten into this clearing. Like you said, it's clearly man-made because you see that stuff, and I think maybe at the far end of the clearing, we see the collapsed of a giant what was once maybe a giant statue of somebody, maybe a leader or something. We wouldn't know that, but of a person. So maybe just the head of the statue, it's collapsed out of the jungle or the forest, into that clearing or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Gaston, are you taking note of the ancient statue head in any way, or just kind of swaggering onwards?
No, I think just like, whoa, cool, guys, check that out.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Um, Gilly, let me turn to you. How are you navigating this environment, and what clues you in to the fact that there is the remnants of a very old civilization here underneath the wildlife of the Bleakwood?
I think after probably waiting for Caedun's like, okay, you can come now. Like after checking out, the floor and the stones. I think she's fully, and Gaston is like all about this statue. I think she's climbed up the giant statue. I think she's standing on top and she's like looking around and she's like looking at the back. And I think I think you hear, and maybe because you're up a little higher, like there's Gaston's whistling, but there's this other sort of intense, sort of haunting whistling. And I think when she looks up, there's sort of maybe either around the clearing or heading into the woods, these really tall, like towers with a sort of round carved thing in it, almost like a focus of some kind. Like maybe if you shone light through one, it could continue, or maybe it's an arcane thing. But as they've been abandoned, the wind is just whistling through the little stone circles at the top of these towers.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So like things that might have once held like a prism or something are now just empty and the wind is whistling through them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then Gilly, you are absolutely taking in that whistling, and you are up kind of on the highest point of this collapsed statue head, right? So you have the chance to first notice something happening nearby. Through a kind of copse of trees, you pick out some sounds, the sounds of battle. It sounds like weapons are clashing and voices are raised in anger, and you can maybe even like slightly make out what look like two combatants, kind of just like mere glimpses of them through the gaps in the trees. But from your vantage point, you're the first to notice that. What do you do?
And can I see? I can't really make out. Do they look like knights that we know? Like, are they speaking in a language that I can understand?
They're speaking a language you can understand, but you're only kind of hearing the occasional word reaching you from the distance you're at right now.
Okay, I think she's just gonna turn around and go like, "Hey, there's people up ahead," and just like charge off in that direction. Like, this is definitely, you know what I mean? Like maybe if we help them stop fighting, they'll tell us what's going on around here. So
Nice.
she's got a big sword, so she's gonna make her way down the other side and just kind of take off in that direction.
Cool. It sounds like no like value being based on stealth from her perspective.
She's got a big sword,
Yeah. Why not charge? Caedun, you hear that alert from Gilly and then see her charge off. What do you do?
And he looks over at Gaston and says, That sounds like someone's fighting. We should probably not be rushing into that, as he takes off after her.
And Gaston, what do you do?
I think as Caedun's starting to walk away, he's like, I agree. Perhaps they have food. Let's go.
Very nice. So so through the copse of trees, you, Gilly, burst upon the scene. There's a crevasse gash in the earth and a bridge that spans it, an ancient bridge that looks to be of that kind of polished and unnervingly perfect material that Caedun was observing below the pavement, and kind of at the foot of the bridge, at the place where you would have to enter, you would have to step onto the bridge to cross the crevasse. There are these two figures fighting. They are unusual. One of them appears to be a stout peasant lad, maybe a little bit older than you and your fellow squires. Big sturdy fellow fighting with a quarterstaff, and his opponent appears to be a living statue, a statue of a robed woman made of some white stone, and she is wielding a stone sword. And they're yelling at each other. As he says, "Let me cross! You can't stop me, you weird stone lady!" And she is saying, "Trespassers must be punished severely. That is the edict. That is the rule of the Citadel," right? So these are the sentiments they're expressing as the battle, right? Weapons clashing, and you are charging in. So they will turn and notice you because you are not sneaking up. They're
Yes.
weapons are locked for a moment, and they both spot you as you come charging over. What do you do?
I think Gilly is thrown. There's a living statue, which is
There's a living statue.
fascinating, but I think she just sort of skids to a stop because she probably got here a little faster than she expected to. And I'll want to use the into the gap move that the Colt has, but I think she just sort of skids a stop and goes, "Hail! Well met. We are here from yon castle, and perhaps we can assist solving this disagreement, Madam Statue. But is there something that you need, perhaps, that you could help with, or something?" She's like, "What could a statue possibly need here that we don't have?"
Yeah. Okay. So you in fact have this special move when you place yourself between combatants and plead for peace. Roll plus courtesy. So it sounds like you are trying to particularly appeal to the statue as you charge in and hope to arrest the ongoing fight.
Yes, because clearly, I don't know. A magic statue needs to come first.
Yeah. Okay. So Gilly, strong focus on the statue. The move is phrased as when you place yourself between combatants and plead for peace. Can you give me a sense of
Yeah.
Are you trying to step in between them? What or just reach out and put a hand on both their shoulders as a gesture of stepping in between them? What's that look like?
If they are doing that, I think maybe she kind of charged in and just got her sword right in the middle of their kind of crossed arms, the quarterstaff, and then whatever stone situation probably made a huge noise.
Oh, nice. So you've flung your too heavy sword or too big sword. Yeah, it's unwieldy. In it to try to kind of arrest both of their weapons as you plead for peace.
They're kind of holding my sword up really at this point.
But in the hopes that this will stop them from re-engaging immediately. Let's see how that works. We've got a roll here. So when you place yourself between combatants and plead for peace, roll plus courtesy, and your courtesy is a 2. So that's something. Go ahead and are you sure you added your bonus 1 to one of these stats, by the way?
I don't know if I did. I will do that later, but I wasn't going to add it to courtesy.
That's right.
I don't believe.
Not going for the plus 3. So okay. So let's roll then. 2d6 plus 2 for courtesy, and see how this goes.
I did that in the roller. It's a 10. Yay.
On any hit, they have to hear you out. On a 10 plus, they are willing to put aside their quarrel for now. So yeah, so like the statue like kind of like regards you fully, and after like a moment of total stillness, like brings her blade down just to point straight to the ground. Yeah, exactly. So like the peasant lad kind of like stumbles forward a little bit and catches himself on his quarterstaff, and like you also find your blade going down from the position they'd all ended up locked in. And she says, "A knight has come to intercede. Yes, I can tell you what it is that I, though a statue, need. As long as this one," stony hand comes up and points towards her opponent, "doesn't try anything while we parley." And the peasant says, "Hey, I'm not a trespasser or whatever you were calling me. I just need to get my cow."
Is your cow across the bridge?
He like nods emphatically.
Okay. Have Gaston and Caedun showed up yet behind me?
I think so. Yeah, I'm happy to bring them in at this point. So so Gaston, you were eager to join because you wondered if these people might have food. I will say you catch kind of enough of this interaction to get the sense of Gilly having interposed herself to bring at least a pause to this conflict. Do you step in as well? What do you do?
Yeah, so he approaches and he's clapping his hands and he's, "Well played, Gilly, well played." And young friend, perhaps we can help you find your cow.
Nice. The lad turns to see you as he says, "Oh, but I know where the cow is. She went over the bridge. I just need to." And he as he starts to take another step towards the bridge, the statue puts like a hand up, blocking his way, right? So he seems grateful for the help, but is constantly like casting his eyes over this crevasse.
So go ahead, Daniel.
No, I think Gilly might turn to the statue and be like, strike a very like noble sort of looking pose and be like, "Fair statue, we will assist. May we escort this lad to get the cow and bring it back, and assure you that no shenanigans will ensue."
Oh, this is excellent. I think this could turn into a move momentarily, but I'm gonna make sure we get a chance to check in with each of our squires first. But yeah, so the statue's initial response is, my duty, and her voice has this quality like it's echoing from somewhere far away, right? That I'm not going to be able to convey exactly, but it doesn't sound. It sounds similar to, but not exactly like a human voice, given that she's a statue. So she's saying, my duty is to guard the citadel, and thieves have taken one of the greatest treasures. I cannot simply allow other mortals to cross this bridge and enter the citadel, not until what was taken has been returned. So that's kind of as far as like an opening perspective, that's what she's putting forward. But we can turn to a move in a moment. Caedun, I want to check with you. What do you do?
It's taken.
Taken, stolen. She reiterates.
What was stolen?
the precious diadem of the wizard Fenric. Caedun, are you by any chance trying to get the truth here? Or
I
trying
would
to search
like
for
it.
the truth?
I'm trying to get there.
Yeah. Because that is a basic move, and that could definitely be something we turn to here.
Yeah, I think he's definitely moving in that direction. So it looks like I would need to roll if I'm pushing in that direction and sort of trying to get a full answer out of the statue person.
Yeah,
it sounds like I'd roll plus ingenuity.
Yeah, that's what I'd say here. So when you search for truth about a person, place, or situation, say how you're investigating and roll plus ingenuity. And then on a 10 plus, you ask 2 questions. On a 7 to 9, 1 question. On a mixture in the GM's hands, you might still ask 1, but be prepared for the worst. So no matter what, you'll get to ask a question. Isn't that nice?
At least one. So I think what Caedun's doing is he is pressing for details about when this item was taken, what the item looks like, and if the statue knows a description of who or what took it.
Oh, so interesting. I am up for us to represent that kind of, probate, that set of probing questions with a roll for search for truth. So roll plus ingenuity.
0 for me. So, still got a 7 though.
A 7 will do it. On a 7 to 9, ask 1 question below. So you get one of these questions. What'll it be?
Okay. Scroll down a little bit so I can see all the questions.
Yeah, so the options are: what here is not what it seems, what danger or injustice needs to be addressed here, what person or concept holds true authority here, where is my best opportunity to make a difference, what here can be used to blank, and you fill in the blank with a thing you desire to do.
Okay. I think the detail I'm pressing for is where is my best opportunity to make a difference?
Yeah, because you're trying to find out everything you can about the stolen artifact and any leads on who stole it. Cool. I think the statue kind of brings her non-sword hand up to indicate a place around her own stone temple where there's a indentation where clearly a diadem is supposed to go. And she says, I know not who is responsible, but the priceless diadem was taken when I awoke. I found the magics of my creator fading from this place. Without them, the whole citadel could fall to ruin. I myself might cease to be more than a mere pile of stones. And she's clearly kind of upset to whatever extent a living statue can be upset as she recounts this. The peasant says well, be that as it may, I still need to get my cow. And she says, no, the bridge must remain secure so that no further thievery can occur. Not until the diadem is restored and the magic can be put right once again. So is that cool as an answer for you, Caedun? That it seems like your best opportunity to make a difference might be in restoring the piece. Yeah.
What How long ago was the diadem taken?
Mere days. I have not been awake long. For centuries I slumber, waking only when the Citadel has need of me. But I woke too late, somehow, and the thieves had already made off with their prize.
Is the bridge the only way into or out of your citadel?
Well, one could fly, I suppose.
Okay. You said this. Does this diadem contain this magic? You say is leaving or is dissipating?
I don't fully understand the workings of wizards, but yes, I believe so. Caedun, I'm going to put a pin in that there for the moment. Just check with Gaston once more. You've been able to like keep up with this, even if you're only partially paying attention to it. You had been the only one to like address the peasant lad so far. So he will introduce himself to you and say, "I'm Hap. I really need help. Doris is a very special cow, and I need to get her back."
How did you and your cow end up here? Is your village nearby? We didn't think there was anybody who lived in the Bleakwood. I think he might be a slight bit like, it's a little odd, right? Like that like,
yeah,
yeah,
you're acting, you're kind of a little suspicious. Absolutely. Hap's response will be, "Oh, there's a place where the wood gets thin, and we've got a little farm there. I was just trying to take a shortcut towards another settlement, and I was taking there were bandits. I had to do a detour from the shortcut, and the detour brought me to the crevice, and my cow ran over the bridge, and then this stone lady said I can't cross."
That is an interesting tale.
You believe me though, right?
Of course. Why would he lie, right? Of course, friend. Of course. We'll help you get your cow back. And then I kind of turn and look at Caedun and give him this sort of, because I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily jiving.
Nice. So you're like kind of like making eye contact with Caedun, being like, like, what do we really think of what's going on here?
Maybe it's true. It just seems, it is a fairy tale forest, so I guess it's possible, right?
It is a fairy tale forest. Gilly, what are you doing as some of this develops?
I think she's listening really intently to this. I think she's got like one hand over her heart, and I think she probably like leans over and whispers to Gaston, like, "This sounds really important to her. Like maybe she's supposed to be human or something. It sounds like this is really sad. We should totally do that." And then I think she catches maybe him asking the question about like if you trust her, and overhears that exchange, and she's just like, "Well, I like him." Like just absolutely. Yeah. Like I think she just trusts both of them. This is just a very sad misunderstanding that we've come
Nice.
across.
Nice. You trust both of them. It does sound like perhaps you are deciding you trust someone immediately, which is one of your take heart triggers.
Yes.
So
She's like,
please
"Why?"
please mark a heart for that. I totally buy it. Yeah, what's so you're checking in with Gaston. I mean, do the three of you want to huddle?
Has Caedun gotten all of his answers? Like I feel like we're waiting until he has, like, I guess, processed the information.
Yeah, what's up, Caedun?
I think Caedun is looking between the statue person, looking at the spot on her head and kind of making note of what the shape of the diadem must have been for that to be its particular space. And he turns to the peasant. He looks like ends up a little taller around over there. Like,
sorry, you cut out for a moment. Can you repeat what you said?
He's sort of standing up a little straighter and like looking across the bridge and to see if he can see a cow wandering around over there.
Oh, that's great. So it's weirdly misty on the other side of the bridge. Like, it's pretty clear here, but the other side just has, seems to have just like low-lying mist. You make out what look like other bits of architecture, like towers and porticos in this this kind of strange and polished stone, but you don't see a cow.
Okay. Honestly, the story about just happening around here with this cow out in the middle of the bleak woods seems a bit incomplete. Seems like there's more to his story, but it also seems like if we're going to resolve this situation without having to let them fight it out about getting across the bridge, it might be a good idea to try and find this diadem. But I don't know, not sure where we'd need to start. I think we're going to need to look around a little bit more. There can't be that many people wandering around this part of the Bleakwood. It took us days to get here. So maybe we can look around and see if we can notice some other tracks beyond the statue lady's tracks are pretty obvious. The peasants,
she sinks into the ground a little bit.
And you can tell we can probably see the cow tracks in the dirt leading towards the bridge, or at least we should be able to. Can we?
Yeah, there's some places where dirt is disturbed. It's like, it looks like bigger than like cow hooves usually are, but definitely some tracks like that. Yeah.
I raised my eyebrow at the peasant a little bit and turned back to my two companions. Those are very large footprints for a cow. The hoof is the right shape, it looks like, I think, but that's got to be a big cow.
I mean, it's a special cow. He probably really wants it back. I don't know. I don't know what farmers do. Maybe they have contests about having the biggest cow. Maybe that's, is that a thing?
Look, I know I come from basically glorified farmers at this point, but we do know a little bit about the animals that we use, and I'm telling you that cow is something definitely special. I'm not sure what kind of special.
Yeah.
Alexia, I'm trying to hit flaunt my family's history here.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, defiantly
know,
flaunt your heritage, talking about the way your family's been reduced in status.
Oh
Ends
gosh,
up
I
as
know.
glorified farmers. I buy it. Take heart, Caedun.
and he's just sort of he's giving the he's giving the peasant kind of a little bit of a suspicious eye, not like completely disbelieving, but also not really trusting. And I have a question for you, Alexi.
Yeah.
Does it seem like this magic has the aura of evil? Like, might this trigger my particular move, since my particular move references evil?
Yeah,
Like,
when you carefully investigate a place touched by darkness, roll plus perseverance.
like is this
Yes.
darkness type? Is this dark magic, or is
there's
this
at least a taste of darkness. So here's the thing, right? Like nobody says they do dark magic, right? Like the wizards at court, they do court magic, and then there's people who do like hedge magic, but everyone knows that dark magic is not allowed. So whatever magic they do, it's definitely not dark magic. Thank you very much.
I know it's not that reprehensible card trick magic. Like, that's the worst. Darkest of all. No, but
so there's different flavors of magic in this world. Nobody kind of cops to doing dark magic, but we'll say that there's at least a little whiff of it for you to
would it be fair to say that dark magic is more about costs and the extremities of cost and outcome?
Could be. That's an interpretation that some wizards might put forward. Sure.
Investigate that with my darkness calls move.
Yeah. So when you carefully investigate a place touched by darkness, roll plus perseverance. So tell me a little bit about like what this investigation looks like, because you've been eyeing people up, you've been doing a little like asking pointed questions, but this is a roll with perseverance, suggesting that it's like you take some time to do a thorough study. So tell me about Caedun's approach.
Okay. Caedun's family has that history with the heretical sects. Now, what form that takes is, I think magic and the orthodoxy in the kingdom might be a little more intertwined than maybe anybody likes to really admit. Like, a lot of the court wizards do have some affiliation with the religious authority in the kingdom, and there's a lot more. There's a lot more connection there than maybe there should be. And so some of the magical practices that were considered heretical, that caused some of these splits, those leave signs, and they leave, some observers might call it a taint. Some might call it a signal or something like that. But there are signs for particular brands or flavors of magic that some of the more heretical sects used, and those tend to be nice magic maybe wouldn't. Like your standard, like your standard divination magics, those sort of things, those don't leave these sorts of signs. Like you got to do things have to be pushed a little bit beyond the pale of your standard court magician to leave this kind of stuff. So I think
that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, he remembers seeing some of that stuff during those conflicts. He was really young, but those were pretty awful and vivid memories, and he is looking around for that stuff now. Like, and if depending on how well I roll, maybe I can add more detail to that. Or maybe you have to add more detail when I really screw it up.
You'll get a chance to maybe ask some questions at least. So roll plus perseverance. And are any of your lessons coming into play here?
Well, we do know that evil has its allure for pretty much everybody.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if maybe your lesson, "No one is immune to the glamour of evil," would give you advantage on this roll.
I would hope so.
All right. So in that case, you roll 3d6 and take the 2 best.
Okay, so 3d6, and my perseverance is 2, so that gives me about as good a shot as I'm going to have at anything, I think.
Yeah, what could
Let's
go
see how
wrong?
this goes. Oh, lots of stuff, but nothing this time.
All right.
It's a 6 and a 4, my 2 highest, plus my 2 would give me a 12.
Well, very nice. You get to ask 2 questions from your Darkness Beckons move.
Okay. Let's see. I think what evil or suffering has this place witnessed? And and the other one will be what redemption or retribution is dreamed of here.
These are such like drama-filled questions, huh?
While you're thinking of that, quick question: does Caedun like have a thing that he does in order to tap into this, or is it like extremely subtle, or like is there anything
How
that
visible is this to your companions? That's a good question.
I think he doesn't necessarily do magic, but like there is a look on his face when he's looking for this sort of thing.
that maybe we've
Tense
seen?
look, but also it is almost always directed away from either one of you. So you're noticing like he's looking around in that really intense way that he gets when he's encountered bad things before. And he is like, you see him like wandering around. He's like, every once in a while he'll like wander over to like a patch of ground and like test the soil between his fingers. He will pick up like twigs or leaves that have fallen and scent them, things like that. And seems to be like he's moving around like he's following some sort of trail, but it's no discernible trail that you can see, and it doesn't always necessarily make visual sense as far as where he's going. Like he will backtrack, he will move back and forth, he will move forward, move to the left. There's no rhyme or reason to how he's doing this that you can see.
Nice.
I
So
think
yeah, your companion's doing this like strange, hard to predict investigation.
Yeah. I think Gilly just elbows Gaston, is like, he's doing the scan again. Like,
yeah, I think you see Gaston doing the raised eyebrow thing, and he's growing. He's getting a little bored. I think Gaston is starting to get a little bored. I have a thing I want to do, but I want to let Caedun's kind of thing play out first to see before I get all throw a monkey wrench in.
I'm excited for the monkey wrench. Let me get some help from you two actually to flesh out the details of this. Gaston, you come from a noble background. You weren't the eldest son. You weren't kind of prepared for rule, but maybe you overheard one or two things about the troubles of the kingdom. What is the insignia of Black Terran, the Bandit King?
Black Terran, the Bandit King. Excellent.
Yeah.
Black Terran, the Bandit King. The Bandit King. I think it is it's like a kind of a crown made of, no, I don't like that. Never mind. That's not a, sorry. I think it's a kind of like a a grinning skull. How about that?
Nice. Yeah. Grinning skull insignia of Black Terran, the Bandit King. So, what evil or suffering has this place witnessed? Caedun, you find a spot where that insignia of the Bandit King, that death's head with the evil grin, has been carved into one of these trees. And it doesn't look like it was. It doesn't look like this was carved long ago, right? This looks like a recent being. You surmise that this is from a triumphant follower of the Bandit King who made away with a prize from this place. So that is hopefully a helpful answer to what evil or suffering has this place witnessed. You also asked what redemption or retribution is dreamed of here. We're gonna go a little ways around on this, but I think it'll work as an answer. Gilly, Caedun is gonna find a place where the grass glows in an unusual color. What color is that? What is the like little like tell of magic that stays on the foliage?
Oh, the grass. I think that it's kind of like a slightly icy blue. It's just sort of like the sun is shining up, so the under leaves are illuminated a little bit. It just feels like the sun is coming from the wrong direction, from up underneath it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So like as your shadow falls over, a patch of grass that's growing like right at the edge of the crevasse, Caedun, you see that like telltale blue glow. And what you also see is someone has grazed here frequently. A lot of this unusual kind of magically tainted grass has been eaten up by a ruminant. Yes. So here's the way the pieces are coming together for Caedun. This is a leap, but it's we'll say this is accurate enough to go on, right? As far as like GM's word here. The story that Hap told is not the whole truth. He's definitely been bringing his cow to eat the magic grass here because that is helping the cow get even bigger and specialer, right? And so he's got some kind of dreams bound up with this very special cow, and that's where you kind of like get a sense of what he wasn't totally coming clean about, since probably the statue would look askance at this way of using the magic in this place. Caedun,
Okay.
you have the chance to like synthesize these answers. Do you want to like bring them back to your companions?
I do, and I'll stand back up after kind of inspecting this grass and some of the hoof prints and obvious signs of grazing, and walk back over to where Gillian and Gaston are standing, and say, "Well, I have interesting news on two fronts. I've noticed that there is a insignia that's been carved into one of the nearby trees on the edge of the clearing, a grinning skull, which is reminiscent of Black Terran, the Bandit King. I think that someone from his group may have been involved in stealing this tiara, which sounds like it's going to be trouble, because the only reason that the Bandit King has not been brought to justice is because they're blasted near impossible to find in the Bleakwood. This is where they hide. The
I've
other
heard
thing,
tales. I've heard tales of him. That is, oh, that's not good.
no, it is definitely not. But there is something else interesting, perhaps not as dire. Um, Someone has been bringing their cow to graze at that slightly magical patch of grass over there. As he points to the glass that obviously, now that you look directly at it, has this really unusual coloration that shimmers back and forth. And they've been doing it quite a bit. And so our friend did not just happen upon this place. It looks like he has made several trips at least, as well as his cow, to this area for that particular purpose, it seems. So he may know more than he's letting on, and those details may be helpful in helping us to find Black Terran. If y'all would be interested in helping me glean those details from him, I am. And I think he pauses a second. I don't always bring out the best in people when I ask them questions. Maybe one of you, and he sort of turns to Gaston, might be better at convincing him to help us with some more details about what he may have encountered in his apparently frequent trips out here with his cow.
Gaston, I'm interested in what you do, and obviously there's both like following Caedun's suggestion here, or there's the monkey wrench you alluded to earlier. So what'll it be?
Well, Caedun has his information has paused the monkey wrench. So I think Gaston is smiling, and he slaps Caedun on the back, and Gilly's like, "Friends, Caedun, this is amazing. This is wonderful. There is no need to be gloomy. There's no need to be sad. We know exactly what we need to do now." And he turns to the what was the name? Hap.
Hap, yes.
Hap.
He's in the NPCs tab.
He's like, "Hap, we know now that your cow is in need of rescuing, but we have a great mission." And he turns to the statue. We must bring back this magic. We must solve this. But you, Hap, are the key. You can help us. You have seen the bandits. You can lead us to where you saw them, and once that happens, we can get your cow back and restore the magic, and all will be well. There is no reason to be. Glory is in front of us. I'm leaning in a little bit on eat, drink, and be merry, for gloom is the enemy. Just a little. I'm trying to go that direction. So
yeah, nice. And it feels like perhaps you're offering encouragement. Is the as you're opening gambit here?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's do it. That's a roll plus cheer. Offer encouragement to someone under a shadow, and Hap is under a shadow because his special cow is missing. So he's definitely paying attention. He's very much hoping that he'll get help from you, and now you're coming saying be encouraged. We need help from you. So roll with advantage and plus cheer. So 3d6, and you'll get to add 2 from your stat.
All right. Hopefully I did this right.
I believe so. Yeah, you've rolled a 3, a 6, and a 4. So take the 10 plus 2 makes it a 12. Wow, you guys are killing it on the dice. Amazing.
I'm scared for when the other shoe drops with the dice rolling. So
nice. Offer encouragement to someone under a shadow. Roll plus cheer. On a hit, your words reach them. On a 7 to 9, they pick one from below, and a 10 plus, you also pick one from below. So yeah, so he will take my resolve is steadied, and I take advantage on my next move as Hap straightens himself up. He's like, you really need my help? Well, all right then. For Doris.
Excellent.
And you can choose one of the options yourself from offer encouragement.
All right.
You don't have any conditions marked, but you could choose. We find respite in our connection, and each gain 1 heart. Or my resolve is steady, and I take advantage of my next move, and that would give you an advantage to carry forward.
I'm going to find respite in our connection and gain 1 heart.
Nice. Yeah. So like, there's a moment of kind of like, mutual pumped upness as Gaston has like successfully roused Hap to action here, and Hap is all in a way that encourages Gaston right back. So,
and he offers they're sharing the flask a little bit too. So
very good. I love that. Let's take our second break here, and we'll pick up with we'll probably like skip forward a little bit to see where Hap leads the 3 of you. Take 10. Be back at 20 past the hour for our last segment here.
I'm excited. Even if the monkey wrench doesn't come out now, you'll have to let us know when it does.
It was. I think he was going to confront. I was going to Gaston was going to confront Hap in a more like accusing way, but because none of it made sense. But then, of course, so not much of a monkey wrench, but I was going to.
Basically, go a little more aggro instead of the,
A
like,
little
charm
right.
defensive.
He was getting bored and ready to end this thing, and so I feel like Gaston might be someone who can get bored easily if he doesn't keep going. So
yeah, absolutely. You guys have just been rolling so well. I guess I gotta make some harder moves here because I think no one's marked any conditions yet.
Don't worry. There's so many great moves here that deal specifically with misses that like I was excited because usually the dice are not very kind to me. We've been rolling so well that like I'm so excited for the rest of the session. We're gonna take advantage of all that, I'm sure.
I mean, you could always, of course, if you really want to, handicap yourself, you could always specifically defy one of your lessons and take disadvantage because that
So
gives you the.
Is that narrative then specifically? Because I know impart a lesson is a thing, and is that something we have to like put brackets around in our role play? Like when I tell you this, I'm really like wanting you to believe this instead of the thing that you already believe.
You have to underline it because you have to spend heart to do it. So when you attempt to impart a lesson to another PC, spend 2 heart and share the lesson. They can accept or resist the lesson as usual. So yeah, you're like ordinary kind of like talking to each other. You can be like pushing on ideals a little bit, but you do have to like kind of flag like, I am imparting a lesson here. I'm spending the resources to do it. Are you going to accept or reject it? So it becomes a like kind of fairly weighty moment. It feels like since you've put some resource into trying to impart this lesson. You have lessons. You have some lessons already, right? And we've seen you heed a lesson where you make a move that shows you're paying heed to a lesson and roll with advantage. You can also make a move in a way that shows you're defying a lesson and you roll with disadvantage. If you roll a miss, mark a notch. If you roll a hit, rewrite the lesson to reflect what you've learned or how you've grown. So that does make the roll less likely to be a hit. By the like level of a disadvantage. But it has a little sweetener either way, right? Like on a miss, that's when you get a notch, right? You don't get notches just on any old miss. You get notches when you roll a miss while defying a lesson. And if you roll a hit, you get this like opportunity to rewrite the lesson, showing how you've learned. You might kind of be nuancing or kind of changing a little bit the valence of the lesson that you were defying there. Yeah. In the chat, I see discussion of how this is similar to some of the influence mechanics in Masks. Absolutely, definitely drawing some inspiration from that. A different mechanical instantiation, but some similar themes, and so some similar stuff I wanted to pay attention to. Okay, we're all back. Let's drop back into the story of these squires. So when we left, Gaston had offered encouragement to Hap and kind of thereby gotten him to agree to lead you to the place where he had seen the bandits in the past. It's a little ways journey. He wasn't when he called it a detour, it's quite a detour that he takes you back along. So we get a little bit of a journey montage, and I'd love to hear from each of you like one thing about how your character approaches journeying in a slightly more directed way, right? Like you haven't yet learned, you've been questing for the what you'd heard that Hap had been had been avoiding an ambush by bandits, and so kind of Gaston drew the inference that he knew a place where the bandits ambush people, and now you've asked him to bring you there to the ambush site. So that's the idea. Yeah. So you've been questing for the Tower Perilous, but you haven't found the Tower Perilous. But now you're questing for a place that like a person is like guiding you towards. So in some ways, this is like a more a quest with a more like definite endpoint, an endpoint where you expect there might be trouble of some sort. So what's your character like? Give us like a glimpse of your character on this, on this journey. What's their attitude, their posture, their approach. We'll go backwards across the character keeper. So Gilly, start us off.
Her position when questing, I think that she definitely kind of is up towards the front, sort of like I assume the peasant lad is leading, and she seems to have stationed herself kind of like looking up in the woods, and then she moves around and like goes around and walks for a while on the other side looking out, like, I'm gonna scout. This is gonna be, I'm gonna keep an eye out, whether or not she's actually paying the closest attention is another thing, but she's up there ready to take whatever jumps out at us. Nice. Having been warned that there are things that are going to jump out at us.
Yeah, absolutely. Gaston, what's your approach? What do we see as glimpses of Gaston during this journey?
Given that Gilly is kind of up front with Hap, I think we'll see Gaston, marking pace with Caedun, casually, chatting away like he does. But I think asking them having a conversation about what they each know about was it Barak?
Black Terran?
Black Terran, sorry.
Black Terran.
Yeah, Black Terran, right? That obviously, he knows he is a rakish rogue of the worst quality. And I'm trying to channel my knightliness, right? And just kind of he's kind of engaging in this conversation about what do we know, what do we think we're in for, right?
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I love that. And do you want to pick up from there, Caedun, as you give a sense of kind of Caedun's approach to this journey and possibly response to Gaston and the as you're putting your heads together about the Bandit King?
Well, I think Caedun is doing that sort of walk he does when he is going somewhere that he generally doesn't think is going to be pleasant. Like that sort of look like he's walking into a headwind, like head slightly forward, like, shoulders not really hunched, but sort of tight in a way that doesn't look like it will be comfortable for a long period of time. But like he's like, ready for some sort of unpleasantness. And as Gaston is talking, like, Caedun is reluctantly, but also, probably a little gratefully drawn into a conversation that distracts him a little bit. And like, as they're walking and talking, like some of that tightness you can see like is lessened, but it never really goes away. It's just like the rubber band is not stretched as far as it was. It's still tight, but not vibrating tight.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So there comes a point where Hap holds up his hands. He says, okay. It's sort of like a semi whisper. You see that crossroads there? And he like led you a little like cross country. So you're like in the trees, in the like not like traveled path at all. But he's pointing out to a place where, there's a crossroads of, two of these, rustic dirt paths through the bleakwood going across each other. That's where the bandits have been ambushing travelers, taking their valuables. That's why I had to go such a long way around with Doris so they wouldn't steal my special cow.
So have you actually seen the Bandit King?
The king?
I-
No, I've seen bandits. They've got the
Oh.
they've got the skull though. They've got the thing, like he like draws the like sigil in the air with his finger.
Okay. And I think Gilly is gonna turn and look at Caedun like before, because she charged out before, but like she's just gonna look at Caedun like, well.
And I think Caedun is sort of like looking around at the trees, at the bushes. It's a crossroads, so there's lots of little spots for people to hide. He goes.
Sorry.
He looks over. He looks over at Gaston and looks back at Gilly and says, "We need to try and scout out and see where they are. If they're waiting here in ambush, we need to be ready. We need to be ready and hit them first."
So you're hoping to turn the tables and ambush the ambushers.
Yes, and hopefully capture one or two of them alive, so we can find out where whoever took that diadem might have taken it.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Let's see. Is that something everyone's on board with? Like, do we get like nods all around from the from the squires?
Yeah, what does Gaston say?
Yeah, no, Gaston nods in encouragement to Caedun and is well spoken. That is an excellent idea.
And Hap will say, "Yeah, give them a taste of their own medicine. Teach them to prey on honest folk and their cows."
So what I'm hearing is we don't spring the trap. You want us to go or behind? Gilly's got like ready to get her sword out, and it's like, so we don't.
We don't want to spring the trap because we don't know what the trap is yet. We want to see the dimensions of the trap and then whack the people who are manning the trap on the back of the head if we can. We don't want a pitched battle. We need someone we can find out information from.
She looks a little bit disappointed at no pitched battle, but she's like,
we're almost certainly going to have to track someone back to the base, and we need to know where the base is. We're almost certainly going to have to fight at the base. I don't see any. I mean, that's going to happen. We're just picking our battle. We're not throwing down everything we've got here if we can help it.
Okay. All right.
Would there be an opportunity in following along Caedun's line of thoughts where we could do a like some sort of search for truth to kind of, we're at this crossroads to get a more of a kind of investigate a little bit to see if we can get a sense of maybe if the bandits are hiding somewhere, or if we can get a sense of how we might be able to best. I think that's kind of where we're at, right? I mean, I'm putting words in Caedun's mouth, but it sounds like we're at sort of a like let's kind of nose about a little bit and try to get a little more get a better lay of this land to see how we can best proceed from there.
So that's an approach. I was kind of going to prompt maybe doing Forge a Path, which is more of the like kind of like. Yeah, it's a catch-all move, but it could be something like if you roll well on it, it could just like get you to the point of having stolen upon the band, right? Like it's kind of open enough that it could be that, right? Like you're forging a path forward to this like to find where they're waiting in ambush and have the drop on them.
Works for me.
We haven't gotten to roll that move yet, so I'm for it.
Who wants to roll it? Who's kind of taking point, I guess.
I think we're I'm. It sounds like both Gilly and my own name,
Gaston.
Sorry. We're nearing the end of the evening, right? Are kind of looking. We're looking for to Caedun leadership. I don't know if you're thinking the same thing, but I think we're trying to give him an opportunity to get his notch for the end of the session. So
He seems sneaky too. Like if anybody's gonna, you don't want Gilly crashing around in the underbrush looking. So
Yeah, Caedun, are you willing to try to forge a path to find the
I am
bandits?
willing, and I will mark that notch since they're looking to me for leadership.
We'll actually do that when we do our kind of end of session check-in.
Okay. Cool. All right.
So go ahead and roll plus perseverance. So 2d6 plus 2.
I'm actually not bad at that.
Yeah, perseverance is a thing the serpent is good at.
Let's see. That will be a total of 9.
Nice. So let me tell you a little about the results here, and then check if anyone wants to lend their aid. So when you forge a path forward, despite difficulty or disorientation, roll plus perseverance. On a 10 plus, fortune smiles on you. Ask the GM what unexpected opportunity you discover. On a 7 to 9, you scrape by, but you undergo an ordeal in the process. So we're right now on that one, on the 7 to 9. Undergo an ordeal is the separate move where you don't roll, you just choose. You choose from the options of grit your teeth and press on. You hold your ground but mark a condition. Stumble, hesitate, or flinch, giving the opposition an opportunity. Mark a notch. So it's this interesting little, get what you want at the cost of a condition, or take some kind of complication but mark a notch. So there's a little bribe associated with it. So that would be where we're at. If we're going with this 9 on forge a path, then Caedun would be pressing forward, finding where the bandits are, but then having to undergo an ordeal to see a little more about how that is starting to play out. So the question is anyone lending aid to Caedun? Because that is something where you can spend 1 heart after someone's rolled to give them a +1. So that would one of you lending aid would be enough to make this a 10 plus. Though of course, Caedun, if you're interested in undergoing an ordeal, we could always have that happen.
Well, and I'm also interested in Caedun marking a condition for everybody looking to him for leadership, and that being slightly distressing a little.
Okay.
So I'm perfectly open to marking the condition.
Okay.
And I'd be willing to lend aid if you want to, but I'm also cool if it sounds like we're wanting to kind of lean into an ordeal. So I'm all for that too.
All right.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards taking the condition, just so Caedun sort of getting a little twitchy about how things have shaped up.
You feel like it's true to the fiction that there would be a sort of weight on him after everyone's turned to him to lead the way. Yeah. So I think kind of what we see, right, is you are doggedly checking all the angles, kind of basically moving carefully amongst the trees so as not to be hopefully spotted by anyone watching the road, and then eventually you find your way to behind the little lookout post where these bandits are, right? And there's clearly 4 or 5 bandits armed with knives and bows and arrows, who are camped out here, ready to spring upon unsuspecting travelers down on the road. And there's so the ordeal is, there's a moment where I'm picturing you you're kind of partway up a tree looking at them. Does that seem legit? And there's a moment where a branch starts to give way under your feet, and you have to choose: grit your teeth and press on, hold your ground but mark a condition, stumble, hesitate, or flinch, giving the opposition an opportunity, mark a notch. I have a sense of what your choice is, but tell me a little what that looks like.
Okay. I think that Is that? Let me make sure I'm reading everything right here. I think he's definitely gonna grit his teeth and press on. Basically, he's going to seize a branch that's slightly above where he is in order to lessen the weight on the current one.
Mm-hmm.
And that puts him in that plays on his nerves more than his strength. Like he's okay to do that, but
It's stressful.
like that. Yeah, I think this is going to give him the strained condition. Like he's a little on edge. His manners may suffer a little.
Yeah. His courtesy is strained. Absolutely. Yeah, but yeah. So you have eyes on the bandits, and we'll say you can kind of signal, non-verbally to your compatriots. What do you convey, right? Rather, because you're probably not whisper shouting at them, but what's the you can give them a signal, and we'll say that you've prearranged it.
They're right.
And I think he basically signals eyes and pointing towards the tower. Or not, I don't even know if it's really a tower, probably more like does it look more like a kid's tree house, like it's built into a tree so that you can't really tell it's there?
It's like a tree house full of bandits.
Yes. He points to the tree over there and makes a little house thing with his hands. And basically he's telling them which tree they're in. And hopefully we will be able to move around to surprise them or surprise whoever's in there.
Yeah. So the rest of your group gets the message. Gilly and Gaston and Hap, who until someone tells him otherwise, assumes that he is here to help attack the bandits as well. Gaston, what do you do?
So Caedun is still up in the tree, and he's signaled to us. And so we're kind of, all the three of us, including Hap, are down here. Right? Is that so? He's still up in the tree?
Yeah, correct. Right, Caedun?
Okay.
You could climb up the tree and join him if that's what you wanted to do.
No. Not much of a climber, I don't think. So I think we'll turn to Gilly and say, well, I think we can get the jump on him. Shall we wait for Caedun, or shall we hand?
She's already going as he's finishing that. She's just charging.
Oh man, you're throwing yourself into a new activity, Gilly?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's this chart? You're basically coming from the direction they don't expect since Caedun found a way to get the drop on them. But what is it like? Are you gonna try and jump and attack that, because it's not on the ground, right? It's a little off the ground.
Higher above? It's above. Is it above me, or are we above going down? I can't remember where we are physically.
Oh, sure. I had been picturing that you guys were on the ground, and there was this little like a child's treehouse, like we talked about, kind of built into a tree that's cleft low to the ground. So it's not way up above you, but it's not right on the ground. Is kind of the thing I was describing.
I think that what she's cutting off Gaston to do, I think she's charging at Gaston. What she's looking for is she's planning to jump and wants a boost, wants a physical oomph, and maybe is not like just fling me up there, you know what I mean? Like she's gonna try and do a flying tackle of some kind.
Give me a boost as I just fling myself into this bandit treehouse. Amazing. Gaston, do you do it? Will you like?
I do. So he does it, and when he does it, he cries for Doris, and he's trying to encourage old Hat as well. You know, just for Doris and
for Doris. Yeah. This is amazing. So Gilly, I feel like this might be an unconventional do battle roll, right? As you, because you're like, you've got your sword out. It sounds like you're like.
I think she she kind of like has it, but she also is like unsure whether or not to lead with the sword or whether this is like do I need to just like, you know, probably mid as she's leaping off is like, I'm not really sure what to do at the end of this. Like this definitely wasn't in training. But yeah,
this isn't exactly something they train you for in Squire school. But yeah, you with your boost, you go like sailing through and like smash through, the window, right? Like it's just made of sticks, right? But you like smash through the window, and suddenly there's huh, what's going on? Who's that? Like all around you, bandits, kind of like freaking out, trying to grab their bows and arrows and draw their knives. So you're just
combat, baby.
You're just doing some fisticuffs to start off, like just
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think I might grab it if I'm not sailing and impacting them just from sheer weight. If there's enough room for me to land and draw my sword, then like that's definitely what she's doing.
You know what? You got launched into this thing. We gotta have you like hit one of them from behind, and so like you're there's like one of them like hits the ground hard, and you're like standing on his back as you turn to confront the others.
Yes.
All right, let's roll to do battle. That's a valor roll here.
Yeah, that is where I put my extra stat from before.
Nice.
Hey!
It's a 10.
Listen.
There's been like 1 7 to 9 during this whole session.
I was gonna say, like, well, you could probably roll with advantage because you're definitely going along with your first lesson, but you don't need it.
I would be upset, but I can't because I love when the dice agree that something would be very fun.
So on a hit, you trade blows in fierce combat. On a 10+, pick 2 from below. I shield another from harm. I press the attack and inflict additional harm on my foe. I fight cannily and maneuver my foe where I want them. I keep my guard up and deflect or redirect some of their blows. What do you choose?
We talked about wanting one of these. Can I pick fight cannily and maneuvering my foes? Because I want to like press someone back through maybe the hole that I've made to maybe trip him on something.
Nice.
So I can be like, look out below.
Nice. So you fight cannily and you like send one of the outlaws like careening down. And I like that because then like what it means is like he like hits the ground, and then he finds like Hap standing over him with like the quarterstaff like like at the ready, so he's like he has to surrender.
Yeah,
that's great.
That one, and I don't think I'm protecting anybody in here, so I'll press the attack and inflict additional harm. Gilly is not thinking of shielding.
Yeah. So like, I think that means like with the element of surprise and with you pressing the attack, you can slay the remaining bandits if that's what Gilly wants to do.
Oh my goodness! As a squire, would they have killed anybody at this point?
It would probably depend, right? Like if you're serving a knight that's like brought you off into battle, maybe. But the playbook you have specifies you come from a more sheltered place, so like plausibly not, right?
Yeah, I think she's like doesn't really read until she's like there and like this there's someone who's very scared that she is gonna kill them. I think she would just kind of be like, ah, and like bash him with the pommel of her sword and like knock them out, and like tie them up or something. But I don't know if she's ready fully to like plunge the sword into
Nice.
a live person yet.
So you are kind of like pressing your advantage, but not trying to lethally end this battle. Just leaving leaving unconscious or surrendered bandits around this place. You did not keep your guard up, so I think like someone's gonna get off a couple lucky shots, and so we have like close quarter bow and arrows going off in here with like like arrow whisks by your face, like arrow like stuck a little bit in your arm. So please mark a condition to reflect taking some hits in this battle.
Okay. Oof. Yeah, I think that I'll have to mark spent because this is pushing absolutely all of her valor to do this.
Nice. There's a battle raging in the up in the treehouse. Gilly seems to have the edge here over the bandits, and she's kind of knocked one down who happens securing, but like another bandit has just scampered, right, like as the battle started. Caedun, you see one of these bandits just run for it, like he kind of like launches himself out of the treehouse and is making trying to make a quick exit, presumably carrying word of this counter ambush that has been.
Let's put a stop to that.
Yeah,
that's what I try and tackle him out of from the tree, like just spring down and tackle him.
Just like a drop bear sort of scenario.
Yep, straight up drop bear.
Yeah.
Koala of Doom.
Yeah, that seems like another version of do battle. So would you roll plus valor for me, Caedun?
Okay. I have valor of 0, so
what have you had?
That is Snake Eyes.
Oh dear.
There is no help for that.
On a miss, you're in the GM's hands. Yeah. So this is going to be our cliffhanger for this session, right? Like Caedun, you like launch yourself out of the tree, and the bandit spins, pulling his dagger as you do. So like, you find that the dagger has jabbed into your shoulder, right? And he kind of like his lips like curl in contempt. He's like, you've got to be faster than that to get the drop on the Bandit King's right-hand man. Caedun, please mark an additional condition. I think the last shot has to be this Bandit King lieutenant who's given you this knife in your shoulder, like looks and sees that the battle is going badly for his compatriots, so he's like, you haven't heard the last of us, like shoves you away and then makes his break for it, right? So that's possibly where we'll leave off as a cliffhanger. And we'll see how these squires rally in the coming session. Shall we do our end of session questions, moving across our character keeper to see what notches people mark? Gilly, let me check with you. What is your end of session question?
Is that the mark a notch?
Yes,
question?
That's right.
It's says, mark a notch if you boldly shared a difficult truth. And
Hmm.
I don't think that I learned a difficult truth to share with anybody this time.
That's fair. That's fair. We'll keep our eyes open for that in future sessions. Gaston, how about you?
So I have mark a notch if you helped someone who seemed like an enemy. I don't know.
We were suspicious of the
I'm willing to
peasant
give
guy.
it to you because
Maybe with
So
the
you were the
hat.
one. You were like very suspicious of Hap, and then the like resolution, like you were ready to like go aggro on him, and then as the resolution, you ended up encouraging him and bringing him along on your quest.
Okay. Cool. I'll take it.
And Caedun, what is your question there?
Page back down to that. After mark a notch if others turn to you for leadership.
Absolutely. You then took some conditions as a result, but they did turn to you for leadership. Very nice. Well, we've got 3 more sessions, and I'm excited to see how this quest unfolds for our aspiring knights. But till then, good night to anyone who tuned in, and we hope you'll check out more Vow of the Knight-Aspirants, and there's a link below this video for a place to learn more about the game as it develops. But till next time, stay safe out there.